What up, everybody? Day 4 of the Advent of Cyber. Today, we're going to be talking about I'm all atomic inside. We're going to be looking at the Atomic Red Team. We're going to be looking at logs again. We're going to be doing some PowerShell. We're going to have some fun with this one. So, with that said, let's go ahead and jump on over to our screen and see what we get going today. Already got the machine up, running, ready to go. So today we've got Atomic Red Team, and like I said, day 4 is called I'm all atomic inside. The story continues today. So we had day 1, day 2, and day 3. We've got a continuation of today's story. And as we read through this story for today, we find out that Glitch, our fellow friend that we thought was a bad guy, what he's been doing is he's been tirelessly trying to fortify all of our systems by setting up firewalls, by putting in patches, by grabbing the endpoints and patching all of those. The problem is, which it's great that he's doing that, but the problem is that he's been doing it and he hasn't let anybody in the SOC understand or know that he's doing it. So what we're seeing is what we saw a couple of days ago, where we had true positives and false positives. This would actually be considered a true positive, right? Because there's going to be somebody from the outside that's getting into our systems that is updating. So, oh, I just got a message. What did I get a message for? Oh, that's a Discord message. All right. Anyway, so where was I at? So true positive, false positive. So this in an instance is what we would consider a true positive, right? Because now we got Glitch, who's not necessarily part of our team, but has quote unquote hacked into all of our systems, but he's doing it for a good reason, right? He's going in and he's saying, hey, I see that all your systems don't have their patches. Let's patch these systems, right? That's right, Rhonda. Old Glitch. So now that we've got that, we've gone through here, we can see as it talks about, he's been working tirelessly, but he's left some breadcrumbs, which are those little small traces of his activity, and the SOC wants to find out what's going on. So what we will use today is we will jump into a Windows box. We're going to jump up and grab the Atomic Red Team. We're going to use something called Sysymon to look at what's going on our systems. And although that's already installed on all the machines, what that does is by using the Atomic Red Team's information, and when we get to it, we'll see, but what they can do is they can emulate TTPs, or tactics, techniques, and procedures that we can find using a little framework called MITRE attack. And we'll look at that as well. So let's go ahead and scroll on through here. What's up, everybody? I see Rhonda's in here. I see RMcast. I'm gonna say it that way, RMcast, because I feel like if I go RMcast, that's just not right. Let's see. My big fat face over in the right hand corner seems to be okay. It's not in any other way. So let's go ahead and look at our learning objectives tonight. Like I said before, we're going to look at how we can identify malicious techniques by using the MITRE framework. We're going to learn about the Atomic Red Team, and we're going to understand how we can create and detect these rules. So we're going to use the Atomic Red Team. What that's going to do is it's going to create something on a machine. We're going to see that, and then as blue teamers, we can turn around and go, okay, now that I see this instance, now how can I detect it prior to it happening, or when it does happen? How can I detect it and get alerts? So that's going to be our final part of this. So once it's connected to the machine, I've already got that up and running because I didn't want everybody to sit around and wait 10 minutes for the machine to come on. So we've got that up and running. We are not going to use their attack box. We've already got a box that we're going to be using. So let's talk about detecting gaps, okay? When it comes to being a blue team, the fact is, it doesn't matter. I feel like The Rock. It doesn't matter. It does not matter how good you think you are or how good you think your team is. There will always be gaps. Whether or not they're gaps in your team, whether or not they're gaps within the corporation, there will always be gaps that you have to find. And that's what the Atomic Red Team stuff is going to try and help us. It's going to try and help us find those gaps. The gaps don't necessarily need to be a huge gap, right? They don't need to be like this massive gaping hole like we have 3389 open on our firewall that's open to the world, and anybody can remote desktop into a machine and then run a brute force attack on that machine and get in. We're not talking necessarily about that. But what we may be talking about is something small, like having somebody in accounting go out and buy software, or go online, like somebody online within the company goes out and sees that there's a application that they want, and they go to that website and they download it. And when they download it, it's got a malicious Trojan in the back, right? So those are gaps. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's a gap, okay? So let's see what it says in here. So it says security is a cat and mouse game, which is 100% it. So that's why you got red team and blue team, right? Cat and mouse. You got the mouse. Well, think about Tom and Jerry. Tom is going to be probably the blue team, and Jerry's the red team. Always getting by, finding the hole, getting in, getting out. Tom has a heck of a time catching Jerry all the time. Let's see what they have here. So it says the line between anomalous and expected behavior is often very fine, which is true, right? They give the example in here, but I'll give an example that's kind of the same, along these same lines. They give an example of a CEO who's always logging in to the United States and then goes overseas. Let's say you are in a company and you're on a blue team and you lock everything down so only individuals can connect from a certain state or from a certain country, right? And then they go to log in and they can't log in, but you're going to get that alert saying, hey, so-and-so's account just got logged in or tried to get logged in from another country. So that is a true positive, but then you find out that that person's actually left and it is in a country, is on vacation or something along those lines, right? And they didn't send a message to the help desk, or they didn't tell somebody, so they didn't get it opened or whatnot. That's an anomalous one, but it's allowed, or as long as your policy allows that, right? As long as the policy says, yeah, you can go overseas, we're going to open it up for you while you're there, blah, blah, blah. So those are our examples of being, walking that fine line. All right, so we've got cyber attacks and the kill chain. So let's take a second. Let's look at this. Let me move my big fat head out of the way. I'm gonna slide myself up to the top. Let's go for a ride up top. There we go. All right, so the cyber kill chain. This was created by Lockheed Martin a long time ago. Let's talk about this real quick. So it's pretty easy to follow. We can look right on down here. But what I love about this is they actually have a loop in here. And this loop makes so much sense. A lot of these things have this moved in a linear fashion. So it just, boom, it's just straight on. Oh, Brandon Corbin has subscribed. There you go. Explosions. All right, where am I at? Where's my mouse? I lost my mouse. We love that. We love when we have so many screens and we lose our mouse. All right, so let's talk about this real quick. We have the cyber kill chain, and this was done by Lockheed Martin, said that. But what I love about this is right here, this part. Whoop. Come on. Right here. We have our circular part. So we have our initial recon, right? We've got initial recon over here. We've got initial compromise. We've got an established foothold. We can talk about those real quick. So our initial recon is going to be, let's go out to Shodan and find something. Or let's go to the daily cyber threat brief and listen to Dr. Jerry Ogier talk about what's going on and find out that there is a a 9.8 out there. So we're going to go over to Shodan. That's going to be our initial recon. And we find a company that's got that. So now we're going to use that vulnerability to get our initial compromise. Now we've got our initial compromise and we're in there. And now we've established some type of foothold, right? Now that we're in there, the account that we used, or maybe we used brute force attack or something, maybe that account doesn't have good enough privileges or high enough privileges for us to actually do anything. So then what do we have to do? We have to escalate those privileges, right? So I got to get rid of being that low level person. I got to find out how am I going to get in and how am I going to become an admin, right? So that's what we have here. We have the point where we've escalated those privileges and the mission isn't completed just by getting in. We've got a lot of stuff we're going to do in here, right? So we're going to go in, we're going to escalate our privilege. Maybe we've escalated that privilege to a lower admin that has a couple of things, like maybe they can go reset passwords or maybe they can create new users. I can't actually get in as the admin, but I can create a new user. Maybe that help desk person that I'm able to figure out that their password is password 123. I can log in as them, create my own new user, and make that person an admin. So that's what we're talking about. And then we're talking about moving laterally. Once we've established that foothold, we're in there, we've escalated our privileges. Now we're following that circle, right? We're trying to find which machine is a good machine to get on. Where's all the data? We're going to sit in there. We're going to look through the network. We're going to find out all these machines and so forth. That's the cyber kill chain. It says, basically, as a blue teamer, we love to stop everything, but we know it's not possible. So what do we have to do? We've got to shift our goals. We got to be able to detect, respond to that, and then figure out how to prevent it from next time. All right. So one thing as a blue teamer that we have is we have the MITRE attack framework. And this MITRE attack framework, although theoretical, it shows a great grasp on how we can attack, or how an attack may work, right? Like I said, it's all in theory, but there are ways using this that will help us. So let me show you real quick in here. I don't want to dive real deep into this because this in itself could take an hour to talk through and explain. But you can see the boxes in here that are highlighted. I guess they're not necessarily highlighted, they're outlined. So we see one here, and all this is row 1 or column 1. This is our recon, and we go recon. We see when we actually get on the MITRE attack framework, which I think if we put in exclamation MITRE, hopefully Stream Elements should send us a link over there. If somebody does that in chat, it should pop up, hopefully. But what we've got in here is we have our recon, we have our resources, and this kind of shows the ebbs and flows of what'll happen during an attack. So if we were to gather the information, then compromise an account, then maybe we have external remote services. Maybe once we are able to get in there, then we deploy container, then external remote, so forth. As you go through this, it shows you what could happen. And like I said, it's all theory because it's not actually showing you what the attack is. It's just saying, hey, this is usually what happens. Once somebody gathers information, they do this, then they do this, and then this. It's an amazing little framework. So if that's all theory, how do we actually do this? How do we bring this all together? We can bring it together with a little group called Atomic Red Team. That's where they come into play. And the Atomic Red Team has a library in its collection. I'm going to read this for you guys. Has a library in its collection of Red Team. These test cases, they're mapped out through the MITRE attack. So what Atomic Red Team has done is they've gone, hey, here's a test case that follows this specific theme within the MITRE framework. So we'll take that and then put this in place, and then we'll be able to follow it, right? So the library consists of simple test cases that can be executed by any blue team member to test for detection gaps and help close them down. The library also supports automation, so this is great because you can set up automation and put it in there, let it run. Did it fix it, or have you fixed it? Yes, no. Or put that automation in there. Did the alert come through? Yes or no? Well, let's fix that alert until we get that automation, until we get that alert. The techniques can be executed automatically, and says they can be executed manually. So, dropping it. So, when it comes to the red team, everybody's probably asking, what is a red team? Or what is atomic red team? This framework, or these things that they've put in place, will allow us. And when we get into this, we're about to show it, and we'll get into it. There are hundreds of things in here using the atomic framework, or not. I keep saying framework. I'm stuck on MITRE, the atomic red team. So in this specific thing, it says dropping the atomic. What is that? So McSkiddy says. McSkiddy had a vague idea of what happened on the compromised machine. It seems that someone tried to use the atomic red team to emulate an attack on one of our systems without our permission. So McSkiddy is seeing, hey, we got an alert. Why did we get the alert? What happened here? Hey, Christina Paulika, how's it going? So the perpetrator also did a cleanup of the test artifacts. So let's have a look at what happened. So this is going to go through, and I don't want to read all this. What we want to do is let's just go ahead and do it, because we can sit here and go through all of this and read it, but it's funner to do it. So it says McSkiddy suspects that the supposed attacker used a MITRE attack technique of 1566.001, which in that technique, that is spearphishing. If you don't know what spearphishing is, we have a whole bunch of different types of ways. We got fishing, we have spearphishing, we have whaling. Spearphishing is basically, think about when you go fishing and you cast a big net, that's fishing. When you go fishing and you take a spear with you, you're not going to hit a whole bunch of fish, you're going to hit one fish. So usually spearphishing is a direct attack onto somebody. So it says, let's recreate the attack emulation. So let me go ahead and pop over to machine, and let's see what we got going on here. Hopefully everybody can see this. All right, so on here, we've got our atomic red team up, and we got a couple commands we're going to run. What we're going to do first is let's look at this and let's run get help and Invoke-AtomicTest. So let's run get. Come on. Oh. All right, and then invoke. It does not want to. Atomic test. And what that's going to do, so the atomic red team is already put on this machine. Running this get help command, what this is going to do is going to show us all the flags. It shows us everything we can do with this. You can see on here that with the specific flags, we've got our different types of techniques that we can run. So that technique is going to be like the spearphishing technique, like T1566.001. That's our technique that we're going to run. Then you put the string in there of what it is. We've got show details, right? So the show details, instead of actually, we don't ever want to just fire something off. So if we actually run show details, it's going to show us everything that test is going to do. So we can look through the details and figure out what it is that's going to happen before it runs. Smart idea. Show details brief is going to be just that. It's a little briefer. And then we've got our test numbers. So there are going to be different test numbers in there that we'll look at and see when we show details. And we've got a whole bunch of other ones in here. So let's go ahead and run. Let me see here real quick. Oh, there we go. All right, let's go ahead and run our, like, copy this because I don't want to have to type everything for y'all, for everybody. Let's go ahead and run Invoke-AtomicTest and show details. All right, so let me scroll back up here so I can show you what I put in here because that went fast. So we've got Invoke-AtomicTest, right? Up here, we've got our Invoke-AtomicTest, and then we have our T1566001. That is the spearphishing. And then we're doing show details. So we can look at our details in here. It says the technique is phishing. So it's going to be spearphishing with an attachment. So it's going to download macro-enabled phishing attachments. And you see right here. So this is a good spot in here. Whoop. Right here, we see test number 1. Right. So one of the things we can do is we run Invoke-AtomicTest, right? Then we put whatever it is, 1566001, and then we'll do test number 1. So this is test number 1. There, if you scroll down, you see beginning of test, end of test, then we see test number 2. So in this whole script, there are different tests. So we can run specific tests if we want to. There are other commands that we can run with this to make sure that what is needed is on our machine. So we can see in here in test number 2, we can see that it's actually looking for a WinWord, so a Windows Word document or running Windows Word. So let's do this. We can run a pre-check on all of our test. Come on, man. I'm not. Oh, there it goes. Like, why am I not moving? This is called doing it live and stuff not working. All right. So we have Invoke-AtomicTest on here. Let me scroll up. What the command we're going to run is we're going to run Invoke-AtomicTest T1566001. So remember, that was what we had up front, our test number 1, and then we're going to check prerequisites. We're going to make sure that everything that we need to run this test on this machine is installed. So if we go ahead and hit enter, we can see that it ran, and it said basically everything ran good, well, all good, all done. Well, so Brent B, I'm actually RDP'd into this. I'm actually not I don't use, for that specific reason, for the reason of not being able to copy and paste, or the copy and paste in between the attack box and so forth. It's a pain. So I like to, I run my own machine. So I'm running my own machine over here. So we've got test number 1. Test number 1 cleared. We have no issues. All right. So let's run test number 2, because there were 2 specific tests in there. So let's run test number 2. And we see down here, we've got invoke, same exact command. Instead of 1, we're going to put in a 2. Let's go ahead and enter, and let's see what happens. We saw that it ran it. But now what we see by running this, it says, hey, wait a second. If you run this test, it's not going to work because we don't have Windows Word installed. So you're going to need to go install Windows Word if you want to run this test. So let's not run that test. So let's go ahead and run test 1. Let me just hit the up arrow key. We're at 1, and we're going to remove our check prerequisite. Hopefully everybody can see everything. I'm looking at the screen to make sure, looking at my feed to make sure the feed looks good. That way it's not my big fat face all up in the way. All right. Seems like we're okay. All right, so we're going to run test number 1, and let's see what happens here. There we go, phishing. So it said it executed, and everything was done. So great, we ran our test. Now what? What do we need to look for? How do we know that it ran? How do we get our artifacts to find out what we can create? Well, to do that, because we're on a machine, we're on a Windows machine, we'll go to the event viewer. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the event viewer. Eventually, here's our event viewer. I'm going to remove the right side here. And we have Sysymon already installed on here, so we'll drop this down. We'll go to Applications, and we'll go to Windows. And if we scroll all the way down towards the bottom, we should see Sysymon. Jingle all the way. All right, so now we have Sysymon and we have operational here. So if I click on this, now what are we going to see? We're going to see a whole bunch of logs, right? So here's all of our logs. These are logs from all day long. And that's going to be a pain, right? We can sit here and we can try and look through this, but you know what we could also do? We could clear this log out, run it again. So that's the only thing that's in there. Instead of sitting here going through all these logs and trying to find where we did it. Although we do see it right here. In this task, what they want you to do is they want you to clear the logs. So we'll clear the logs. Let's clear those logs. Yep, let's clear it. Let's go back over here. I'm going to hit the up arrow key. We're going to run this test one more time. Test has been run. Now let's go back into the event viewer. We got nothing in here. But if we right click on here and hit refresh, now we see the log. So let me shore this up some so everybody can see what's here. So now we see in here, we've got information. So level of information. We got event IDs 11 and event IDs 1. And we see something happened here. A rule was created. A file got created. A process got created. But what is it? So if we look in here, we can go to details. We'll make it a little bit easier to read. We can see in here that PowerShell was run. So we had PowerShell run. We can see that there was an attachment created, a phishing attachment. It says phishing attachment.xlms or XLSM. If we keep going through, kind of look through, and look, we see it's an atomic administrator, so it was run as an admin. We can see different things that have been run in here. But we're looking for one thing. We're looking for something in here that stands out. We see command lines run. Here we go. So look at this. In this file right here, we have our parent command line. And in this command line, we're seeing that we're running PowerShell. But we also see that we've got URL right here. So we've got a I just went blank. We have a, I wanted to say we have a macro, and that's not a macro. I can't think of what it is. It'll pop to me in a second. So the URL is actually showing, is pointing to a URL to pull down this XLSM file. We have URL number 2 right here. That one's doing the same thing. It's pulling down the phishing attachment.txt file. And then what that's doing is, actually it's not pulling down, that's telling you what the URL is, and this is URL 2. So in here, now we have the invoke web request. So what that's doing is that's actually going out and pulling it down. So our invoke web request, when you write that in PowerShell and you invoke the web request, that's just like going to a website. So it's like taking our file, copying this HTTP, putting it in a browser and opening it up. But that's what it's doing in PowerShell. So what this is doing is invoking these, but it's creating, right here, it's creating an output file. So yesterday, while we were doing something, while we were doing one of the tasks, I believe one of the tasks had us, it was when we were doing the host files. So yesterday when we did the host files, remember, we put in there, we typed in where the host files were going to go, and then we piped it to an actual file, right? So we typed in the host, whatever, I don't remember what the actual host was, 1.1.1, whatever the URL was or whatever the domain was, and then we piped it to a file. This is doing the same thing. This is creating an output and putting it into our temp folder. So it's creating a temp folder with the attachment of phishing attachment.xlsm. And then it's also doing the same thing for our phishing attachment.txt. All right. So now that we have this, now we know by using this Atomic Red Team file and running this, now we can see, hey, when something like this happens, this is what we can use to alert. We can alert on a couple of different things here, right? So we could alert on, did PowerShell get run? Why is a user running PowerShell? We can alert on, is a user invoking a web request? Why is a user out there using a web request, invoking web request on PowerShell? Why do I have somebody in accounting, or why do I have somebody in, maintenance or safety or somewhere in some other, they shouldn't be doing it. So we can run those type of things. We can put those in our rules now and have something sitting there going, hey, this just popped up on a machine that it shouldn't be on. All right. Oop. What is our next task here? So we ran our task. Now that we've successfully done that, we've checked our logs. Now what we can do is we can actually go run the same thing, but we're going to add on the end, we're going to add cleanup, so we can clean up all of the files and everything in there. So we'll go ahead and clean up. That's going to clear everything out. And now we're back to a nice area. All right, so we already looked at Sysymon. We've gone through everything. I'm trying to see where we're at. Let's go back over here. So skip through all this. So in this actual task, they actually go through and explain what every single one of these is in here. We kind of went through it already. If you want to, you can jump on and read through all those, but I gave you the 10,000 foot view of that. So here's all the commands that they ran. We've already done this. We went through these commands. Here's our techniques, right? So this is what the techniques we talked about in the actual file itself, right? So up here, they talked about the techniques. That's all they're doing here is talking about what we talked about before, the specific techniques, how they are pointed to the MITRE attack. So this spearphishing attachment is actually T1566. That's actually a description for the MITRE attack technique. We've gone through all of this. This is a short room. There's not a lot to it. But I say it's a short room. There's not a lot to it technically, but there's a lot of reading to understand. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get through. So we're not reading the whole thing. We're more like discussing and talking about all this. Hey, welcome in, Mariana Albright. So we've talked about spearphishing already. So we went through this. We talked about our numbers. So we did the cleanup. I'm trying to find out where we're at on this. We flew through this. So we did our operational. We've already looked at this. Perfect. So we got our event data. We saw all this. Okay, so we've talked about it already. Now that we did what we've done is we've gone and we've created all this stuff. We've seen all of this. As a blue teamer, this is fantastic. Right now we get to see how this attack would happen. So now, how do we use that to our benefit? And what you can do is you can go write YAR rules. You can write Sigma rules. You can use Snort. Depending on what platform you use, there are different types of rules that you can go in and write that will detect that stuff, that sit there and run against the endpoints. And when that stuff does come up and happen, then it will send an alert to either the SOC or to whoever's going to get these alerts. So let's take a look at building out these rules. Let's see what it says. So 2 events contained the invoke web request, which we talked about already. We can use multiple parts of the artifact. So yeah, we talked about this. We can use multiple parts. So we pointed out that there was a web request. So it's not common for somebody to run this stuff. It's not common to have this URL. It's not common to have a XLSM file, especially one that says phishing attachment. So let's talk about this for a second. Those of you that come in the morning, what time is it? We're on 30 minutes in. All right. We'll be able to knock this out pretty soon. But I want to talk about this real quick. Those of you that come and sit down and hang out with us in the morning and watch Jerry go through the news, you see him talk about files. You see them talk about hashes. You see him talk about specific things that come with a ransomware attack or some attack that happens, right? So in this specific task, what we're talking about here is we're talking about a specific document that's called phishing attachment. All right. So that phishing attachment, you can create a rule that says phishing attachment.xlsm, right? And look for that specific file. if you are able to find something that's that deep into it, then it's going to be a heck of a lot easier for you to find out what's going on and know that something specifically happened. That means that this specific one isn't going to be like polymorphic, so it's not going to be changing names or changing numbers on it. This one is specific to this attack, or this specific attack is going to put this specific file in here. So we know that file. So we'll go create rules to look for that specific file as a blue teamer. So when that file comes up, we know that something's going on. I guess I could have put my big head down here so you could have seen my face. I was getting all excited about that. All right, so let's go ahead and scroll through here, combining these pieces. So right here, here's a Sigma rule, and this is done in YAML, I believe. YAML is fun to work with. If you miss it by, if you have your outline, so if you actually have this marked off like 4 spaces versus 2 spaces versus 1 space, you have a whole hell of a time trying to get the thing to run. No, so good question, Rimcast. So you're asking if that file will be specific for phishing or all kinds. What I'm talking about right now is I'm talking about just this specific task for TryHackMe. What I wanted to explain is that in the morning, sometimes in the news, you will see that there are artifacts, and we'll go through. Maybe we'll have some time to go through this and pull it up on the MITRE attack framework. But sometimes there are specific files that are dedicated, like an adversary uses the same file every time. So when they put that file on there, it's always named the same thing. So maybe it's named attack.cmd, right? You can put in your rules to look for attack.cmd. And if that pops up on somebody's machine, you know something's going on, right? Or badfile.com on there. You can look for those specific files. It's only, what I'm getting at is that is only for some specific attacks is like that. It's not like that for everything. Some of them, like I said, are polymorphic, and those are the harder ones. When it gets on, it might be bad file .xlms or xlsm, and then the next time it's bad file 01 or file bad. Like, they change that name. If they don't change the name of the file, then it's easier for us to find, is what I was getting at. Hopefully that makes sense. Good evening, Mando. All right, so we talked about detection. So the detection part is where the effective detection is happening. We can see clearly the artifacts that we've discovered during the emulation test. We can import the rule. Now that Glitch has shown us his intentions, old Glitch has back around. He showed us his intentions of what he's doing. Let's continue his work and let's run an emulation for some ransomware. So let's go back through here, and I missed something, and we're gonna have to go find it. So let's check out our challenge for today and get through this room. So as Glitch continues to prepare for Sockmas and fortifies Wareville's security, he decides to conduct an attack simulation that would mimic a ransomware attack across the whole environment. He is unsure, though, of the correct detection metrics to implement for his tasks, or for his test, and ask for our help. He needs our help. Old Glitch, guy that's been doing all this work, now he's asking for our help. All right. Should always ask for help if you need it. So our task now is to identify the correct atomic test that we should be running that will take advantage of a command and scripting interpreter. So conduct the test, extract valuable artifacts, and that would be used to craft the detection rule. All right, so let's go through here. Let's look at our questions and see if we can't find something. What is the flag in the txt file that is found in the same directory as the phishing attack? Okay, so I'll tell you right now, I already screwed up because we already cleaned everything up. So now we have to go do this again. which we'll do it fast, but we gotta go do this again so we can get the flag out of the text file. Let's pop over to the box again. I got all excited about doing things. So let's not clean this up. Let's run this. Boom. And then what we can do on here is we need to find out where this is actually saved because we don't see it. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we may be okay. All right, hold on. What is the flag in the text file that the directory has found for the phishing attachment artifact? Oh. So we're going to look for phishing attachment.txt. Now I'm gonna go find all this again. It's in our temp file. Perfect. There we go. We see temp file, so it's gonna be in temp. Let's copy this here. Oh, come on. Oh, that's in... Man, I'm all over the place. This is the user it's the environment variable. Hey, that's what I was looking for. The word variable. Man, that was what I was looking for earlier. All right, so users... maybe all over... Oh, there we go. All right, so here's our temp file. And... it's off screen. All right. So this is going to be what we needed. Let's flip back over. That's going to be the answer to our first one. All right. Now we get to go at it. So what attack technique ID would be a point of interest for us? All right. So what they're saying in here, what they're asking is, remember, we got Glitch. Glitch is over here, and he wants to do a specific attack on us or on the environment. And he's saying that they're asking us, what is the ID of that attack? So we can go out to Google and we can Google what the actual attack is, or we can go to the MITRE script, which I've already got it up. So we can go to the MITRE scripting interpreter, and this is at the top. And what you can do is you can type in, or you can search for command and scripting interpreter. And if you look on the MITRE attack framework, here's the ID right. Oh, I lost my mouse again. Oh. Here's the ID right here. That is the ID of this specific attack. Now we see right here that we've got sub attacks, right? And remember what we had in there? We had T1599 dot something, right? So these are the sub attacks, and you can click on them, or if you actually look over to the left hand side, all of these are the sub attacks. So you can look at them, you can click on them and find out what they are. So our ID is going to be T1059. So let's go back over here. Hey, Oh no. Try hack me crashed. They probably crashed because they got it blown up so much. Oh, I hope y'all saw that. Didn't realize my head was in the way. Oh, you gotta scroll all the way back down to the bottom of the room. Is everybody having a good time? Does everybody already know this? Or are you actually learning something? Hopefully y'all learned something. Hopefully I've given something out. All right, so here's our attack ID. So we're gonna go ahead and put our attack ID in there. Should be T59. That should be right. All right. So what attack sub technique? Now remember, we just talked about that. What attack sub technique ID focuses on the Windows command shell? So if we go back over, man, this box, we see over here our sub techniques. We could click on all of these, right? We can click on one. Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Or we can come over here. We see Windows command shell, and that's what they're asking for, right? They're asking for what is a Windows command shell. So let's click on the Windows command shell and see what ID that is. So once again, we have up here at the top. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted my arrow there, right there. That's kind of all up on there. Let's make it pretty. 1059.003. That's what we want. That's going to be our answer here. That should be our sub command. Let's go ahead and hit submit. All right, now it says, what is the name of the atomic test to be simulated? So think about it. What did we do before? What was the name of the test, right? We did, on the other one, we did Invoke-Test 10, was it 1599, I think? So what we're going to want to put in here is we are going to want to run the atomic test 1059.003 on there. So let's see if that's right. Let's go ahead and copy and I've got that over here. We'll copy and paste that into this. That doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Yeah. All right. So it's going to want, I think it's going to want the whole thing. Yeah, it is. All right. So before we put that in there, let's go over here and let's actually find out what test we're going to run. So to do that, we need to come back up here and we need to make sure that we know, because remember, we had test 1 on the other one, we had test 2, but now we're using a completely different ID and we don't know how many tests are actually under that idea. How many tests are actually under that ID? So let's read carefully in here. And what does he want to do? He decides that he wants to conduct an attack simulation that would mimic, what do you want to mimic? He wants to mimic a ransomware attack across the environment. All right. So let's come back over to our box. Oh, did it crash? It did crash. Man, try hack me's crashing all over here. All right, we'll close. Let's close this out. Let's drop this down. Okay, so I'll type in CLS. Let's clear this screen. Let's start over from scratch. So what did we do the first time when we ran Invoke-AtomicTest? We want to show the details. We want to see what's in there. So remember, if we show the details, then we can see all the tests that are in there. We can find out what test we want to run. So let's do that. So I'm going to copy this over. That way I'm not typing all the time. So we got Invoke-AtomicTest T1059.003. And we're going to show the details of this test. And there's going to be a lot in here. Let's scroll up to the top and let's check out which test in here we can run. So remember, we got all this purple in here that tells us where a test is. So here at the top, we've got our command script. So that's what we wanted to run. It's going to create and execute a batch script. Oop. Let's see. We got PowerShell here. We don't need any elevation requirements. There's our process to start. We've got our cleanup command, so it's going to remove. So that's good. So this is test number 1. In test number 1, I'm not seeing anything about ransomware. So let's go ahead and keep scrolling. Let's see what test number 2 is. So on test number 2, here we go. We have test 2 here. Test 2 is going to write a text file and display it. So let's see, writes text file, displays the results. Not seeing anything in this. It says hello from Windows command prompt. I don't see anything in here that's going to do ransomware. So let's move on to test 3. Test 3 looks like it's a small test. So test 3 right here, we have suspicious execution via Windows command shell, command line executed via suspicious invocation example from 2021 threat detection report by Red Canary. Red Canary is amazing. They're the ones that do this. So once again, nothing in here about ransomware. We see hello text. Okay, let's go on to numero cuatro, number 4. You didn't see the .txt file. Which txt file are we talking about? All right. And if you're wanting me to go back to it, I can go back to something if you want me to go back to it. So let's look at test number 4. So we got test number 4 right here. And it looks like test number 4 is simulating black byte ransomware print bombing. So this sounds like maybe something we can use, because what did he want? Glitch wants us to ransomware. We want to test some ransomware and see if it works. So going through all of this, we can see all the different commands, the dependencies, and look here. Looks like it's going to run a source of ransomware.txt. So it looks like 4 is probably going to be it. Do we have other tests in here? We do. We've got a test 5. Test 5 is just reading a command. So for us, it's going to be test 4. So what we're going to want to do, what did we do last time? Remember, we checked for prerequisites, right? So let's go ahead and make sure that we've got everything on this machine that we need to be able to run this test. Runs through. Look, it says prerequisites for it are good. Everything's met. So let's go ahead and let's fake ransomware this this box. Oh, let's hit 4 and enter. Oh, hey, what's going on here? Everything's popping up all over the place. That's our ransomware, our fake ransomware. We'll go ahead and throw this on desktop and we'll say ransomware. Saved. Boom. Okay, so we need to probably go back over and answer the question now. What's our test? We did not do a prerequisite. What is the name of the atomic test? Hey, that is the name of the atomic test that we did. Oh, you know what? That's wrong. The name of the test. So that's the name of the command. We need the name of the test. Totally skip that one. So what's the name of the test? The name of the test is ransomware bombing. Hopefully that's right. That looks like it's enough in there. Let's do this. There we go. Okay, so that's the name of the test. What is the name of the file used in the test? Oh, remember we need to, I guess we need to go back and look at that. Let's do our show details. We need to find that file. We saw the file in there, but we didn't pull it down. So let's go, where's 4? This is the name of the file here. So Warville ransomware text. And let's put that bad boy over here. That should be right. Now we've completed everything. Now we need to find our flag. And remember, everything popped up and we saved that flag onto our desktop. So let's go back to our desktop and check that. Let's drop this down. Here's our ransomware PDF file. Glitch is working on a test. Let's see. Is it big enough? Let's make this big so everybody can see it. That's huge. All right, there we go. Glitch is working on testing the security posture before Sockmas is here. I will run as many tests and ensure we are all safe until we uncover this flag. All right, so here's our flag. Oh God, don't tell me I can't copy this. That's gonna be nuts if I can't copy that. If I have to type that in, we're gonna be here for another hour. Boom, there we go. All right, sweet. You know what that deserves? That deserves a, I think that deserves a dancing Santa Claus. What's up, Luke Canfield? You made it just in time. Man, I did that right at about an hour. I did a lot of explaining for a task that probably only takes about 10 minutes. But hey, I wanted to make sure going through it that we actually understood what's going on and we look at everything. Let me go ahead and hit complete. It says you can learn more about the Atomic Red Team in this specific room over here. Let's see if we can. So one thing we did not do, and maybe I'll do this for a minute or so, is we didn't go through and actually look at this. Let me move my big fat head out of the way. So I'm up at the top now, hiding. So this is the MITRE attack framework. We've discussed it multiple times, and here's our techniques. And you can see by using this and clicking on it, once you click on, it tells you what's going on, right? So it'll tell you specific things that happen. It breaks different things down. What I was talking about before is on some of these, it will actually tell you what relates to it. So let me see if I can find a good one. All right, I'm trying. I think it keeps crashing because I've blown it up so much. And I did that because I wanted everybody to be able to see it. So if we come back over to what we were looking at earlier, the command and script interpreter, you can see down at the bottom, like specific examples. You can see who uses it, what they use it for, what specific files they've used on here. APT37 has used Ruby scripts to execute this. So you can see how everything breaks down. They have examples on all of these. There's a lot with this one. Look at that. And then it goes through how can this be mitigated, right? Antiviruses can be usually automatically can quarantine these specific files. A lot of these are seen because they're out here. Maybe by auditing some systems, you can find this stuff. All right, have a good night. Code signing. There's a whole bunch of different things. Like I said, we could spend an hour or more just going through the MITRE attack framework and all that's in here and the benefactors of it. That said, that was a fun room. There was a lot to it, but like I said, it's more explanation than full on, hey, this is how we do it. This wasn't one of those where we're just hacking away at the whole thing. This was more along the lines of explaining how all of this works and understanding. This room was the epitome of a blue teamer during the day, right? Somebody that's out there looking for stuff. Perfect room for a SOC analyst that's sitting out there running stuff. Maybe has a VM up that has Atomic Red Team on there that's able to run these things, create these specific rules and so forth, and allow their corporation or whatever, allow them to actually be able to get those alerts on these specific issues. All right, so anybody got any questions? Looks like we got about 12 people in here. Thank you all for hanging out with me and going through this. We spent about an hour. Y'all, I can't believe all y'all stayed around to listen to me talk for an hour. Any questions? Anything I missed? Anything y'all want me to go back and look over? Anything you guys missed that y'all need? Y'all let me know. If y'all want to see Big Fat Santa again, we can do Big Fat Santa again. Hey, no problem, Tony. We'll be back here tomorrow. Every day, I'm doing this at 7 o'clock. Joseph, Casually Joseph, he's doing it at 4 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock Eastern time. So if you can't necessarily jump on late, there's an earlier one. Casually Joseph is getting his. In fact, you know what? I want to see if my stream elements worked. Trying to get, oh, there you go, sweet. So the chatbot did work. Awesome. So I'm going to set up some more commands in here. That way we've got this in here. And I'll set up one for Casually Joseph as well to point to his, so everybody can get his link. Make sure we have that. I'm going to set up a whole bunch of stuff on here. That way we can be a little bit more interactive as it relates to the stream. Because I don't want y'all just sitting there going, oh, I'm listening to this guy's voice all the time and just watching what's going on. I like to have the interaction. For those of you that don't know, I started streaming about 4 years ago, not on YouTube, on Twitch, doing DJ sets, extremely interactive. So when I get on stream, I like everything to be interactive. I like to be active with the community. I like the users to be going crazy in chat and having fun. I know it's a little bit different. These are different types of streams, but I'm going to figure out a way so we can make these things interactive. And maybe once we get done with Advent of Cyber, we'll do more of these type of streams that are more interactive. Should be fun. Do the bazooka. So the bazooka happens when somebody subscribes, but I do have a way that we can make it look like Brandon subscribed again. Here we go. Here comes the bazooka. Uh-oh. Watch out, chat. There we go. No problem, everybody. All right, it is 8:02. So guess what? Tomorrow is Thursday, which means I will be doing jaw jacking for, I said jaw, I put that hard G on the end, but we always put the jaw jacking. I'll be doing jaw jacking in the morning. Maybe Jerry will be around. Not sure. We'll see. But we do have tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time on Simply Cyber's YouTube channel. We have our daily cyber threat brief in the morning that will go over all the news for the day, for basically news for today or maybe through tonight. Anything that's popped up. Then we'll spend about 30 minutes or so answering any questions that you have over anything. If you have questions about AOC, Advent of Cyber, you can throw those in there. We'll answer some of those questions. And then we'll be back tomorrow to do day 5. All right, everybody. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Everybody have a great night. And as always, stay secure.